account in margin. Delta, gamma, vega, theta. This tells you the values of the option Greeks for the trade. Downside and upside break even. This gives you the exact price you need the stock to move to break even on the trade at expiration. Either up, bullish, or down, bearish. Max profit, max risk. Uses a percentage to show how much you can potentially make in relation to how much you can potentially lose. Max profit cost. This uses a percentage to show how much you can potentially make in relation to how much you are spending to enter the trade. Here you can see the stock chart for our trade GS for the past 360 days. To the right, you will see the risk graph of your options trade. The risk graph is currently set to classic view. We will talk more about this in a moment. The x-axis in the stock price, horizontal, and the y-axis shows the profit and loss, vertical. What are the colored lines for? Great question. The colored lines on the risk graph tell you what the value of your trade will be with the different amounts of days to expiration, volatility remaining constant. Red indicates today, while blue represents 1/3 of the time in the trade. Green represents 2/3 of the time in the trade, and black, of course, represents the trade at expiration. Which graphs all the ATM IV for the past 90 days. You will notice that there are red, blue, green, and black lines on this graph as well. There is a key in the upper left-hand corner of the ATM IV chart telling you what each color represents. As an example, using the red, 7 to 30 day, all the ATM options with 7 to 30 days left on GS are added together and averaged out over 100 days. This process is the same for the blue, green, and black lines. Notice that the green 60 to 90 day options say UNK, unknown, next to it. This just means that, due to the options cycle, there are no options currently trading that expire in 60 to 90 days. To the right of the ATM IV graph, you will see the profit and loss graph relating to a change in the IV on your options. The red, blue, green, and black timelines on this chart correlate with the colored timelines on the previous option risk graph shown in figure 1.13. Determining if your trade is going to double is one of the most important pieces of information that an options trader can ascertain. Platinum provides this information right here. Notice that, once again, the same four colors represent the time frames of the trade. It provides a percentage of the price move necessary for the stock to double the money on your options, as well as what the exact stock price needs to be. For example, using the green text, representing 35 days left in our option, we need GS to raise in price up to $141.08, which is just about our target price of $141.03. As you should know by now, you never want to get into a trade without having a trade plan written down. Platinum provides a space here to do just that. There is even an outline of one for you to use. This text box can also be used to keep notes on the position throughout the trade's life. Now, go to the chart variables and scale limits to change the look and feel of your risk graph as well as some of the data available. You have the choice to look at your option risk graph in either Classic, which is the default, or Modern. We will change it to the Modern view in a moment. If you uncheck the IV chart button, you will no longer have the ATM IV charts and graphs. If you check the candlestick box, your stock chart will display candlesticks instead of OHLC bars. You can tell Platinum what you want your spacing to be on your stock charts and your IV charts. If you enter a 5 or 10, Platinum will put a line on your chart every 5 or 10 points. Here you can manually zoom in and zoom out on your graphs by entering in the numerical value you want to see between. For example, if you entered in 100 in the text box labeled Lower and 160 in the text box labeled Upper, you will then be looking at your stock chart and options risk graphs between $100 and $160 on the price axis, thus zooming in. Enter the number of days you want on your stock chart. For example, if you only want to see the past 6 months of stock activity, enter in 180. The default is set to 360 days. This can be a really powerful tool in your trading toolbox. Remember the black timeline that represents expiration on your risk graph? Let's say you know you are not going to hold your option to expiration. You know that you're only going to hold it to 30 days from expiration. If you enter in 30 in that text box, Platinum will remove the black line on your risk graph and replace it with a purple timeline representing the value you entered. In this case, 30 days. Rather than zooming in and zooming out manually, all you need to do is click the green text with the amount you want to zoom in or zoom out, and Platinum takes care of the rest. After you've made any changes in the chart variables and scale limits area, you'll want Platinum to recalculate them by clicking the green Risk Graph button. You can use the button either to the right of the chart variables, or you can use the button at the top of the page. The blue Update button will take any changes you have made to the variable in blue text and save the changes in your general settings. We recommend that you leave that button alone until you are a little more comfortable in Platinum, as some of the changes can affect your search results. Now that you are a little more familiar with how the risk graph page works, let's get the GS trade rolling. Scroll down to the bottom under Chart Variables and Scale Limits. Change the risk graph style to Modern by clicking the little circle next to it. Then click on the green 200% at the bottom. Platinum will automatically reload the page for us with the changes we ask for. We want to save our trade using the green Save button at the top of the page. Platinum will automatically assign a trade name for us. Remember that Platinum will allow you to edit the trade's name anytime you want. However, for the sake of our walkthrough, let's just leave the trade with the default name Platinum is assigned. You will now see that some of the buttons have changed. The new buttons include the following. Update. This was previously referred to as the Save button. From this point on, it can be used to save any changes you make. Clone As. This button creates a copy of the trade and saves it. You will see the word clone in the name of the copied trade. Scroll down to your options risk graph. Take a look at how the stock price axis is now in line with the stock price axis on the stock chart. For many, this is a much easier way of following the progression of a trade, because the profit and loss axis now runs along the bottom of the chart. Let's do a little inventory. At this point, you have a run search, found a low-risk trade, and saved it into your Platinum account, thus successfully initiating a backtest and a paper trade. Now, I know many of you will want to shave the prices on your options to reduce the amount of money you're paying to get into the trade. Feel free to do so. However, we suggest you leave the prices at their natural. If you can be successful using the worst-case scenario, you will only be that much more successful when trading real-time. It's extremely important to always take the time to fill out a trade plan for every trade. You can type it right into the trade comments box below your risk graph. For our walkthrough, we're only going to use the very basics. For a loss stop, let's get out when the trade reaches a value of 55 cents, 50% loss. On a profit stop, let's get out when the trade makes a profit of $1.10, 100% gain. For a time stop, let's commit to exiting the trade at about 30 days to expiration. Using the website date box, you can either roll it forward one day at a time, as well as back, or go to the latest date in your Platinum. If you have the time, it's always better to roll forward one day at a time and watch how your option price moves in relation to your stock price, as well as take notice of how the options Greeks change. For our exercise, we're going to go ahead and roll forward to January 30th, 2006. This is the day we hit our profit target. To do this, click the image of a calendar next to the Go button in the website date box to generate the pop-up calendar, and click January 30. You can also manually enter in the date you want to use the text boxes and then click Go. Looking either at your profit column or your options risk graph, you can see that you've doubled your original investment. Congratulations! You now have a successful paper trade. Don't stop here though. There are still a couple more steps to take before closing out the trade. Now you need to close out the trade to tell Platinum that the trade is finished. To do this, first click on the green Edit button and Platinum will take you to the Edit Trade page. You will see a purple Close button in the middle of the page. If you click the Close button, Platinum will redirect you to the Close Trade page. Your original trade is listed first on top using the dates you entered for the trade. In order to close out the trade, you need to buy back what you sold and sell back what you bought. Under the NUM column, enter in the number of contracts you are closing. Since we only did one contract in this example, we will enter a 1 in each of the text boxes. Platinum gives you the ability to pick a color to add to your option trade. On the far right column under Leg Color, click the word Set. A pop-up window will appear giving you the chance to pick from a variety of colors. We're going to use green for the opening legs and pink for the closing legs. That way, when we come and look at this trade again, we'll know which leg was used to open and which was used to close at a glance. Click the green Update button and wait for Platinum to reload the page. Then click the green Risk Graph button to get back the risk graph page. You will notice that there is no longer a risk graph. Instead, there is a set of crosshairs in the risk graph's place. This is Platinum's way of telling you that the trade is closed and finished. Where the arrow is pointing, you can see how much money you made in the trade. Congratulations! You've now fully completed a backtest and a paper trade. You can come back to this trade as often as you like. To paper trade in real time, find a current trade and follow it exactly as we did in this example. You'll go through the same steps again, only you'll need to run your trade search on the latest date in Platinum and then check it each day to see how it performs. Back at the sitemap, Platinum gives you the ability to create up to 20 custom lists, plus you can also save stock symbols in My Stock List. You will notice that under the Identify Opportunities toolbox on the sitemap, there is a drop-down box that has lists 1 through 20, as well as My Stock List. To create a new list using Platinum, start by clicking the Edit Lists link. You are now on the Create Edit List page where you can create a custom list. There are two ways to create a list from here, either manually or by letting Platinum create one for you. First, select a list to save your symbols into by clicking on the drop-down menu and selecting List. Rename your list Platinum Manual. Enter in the ticker symbols of the stocks you want to add to your list using upper or lowercase letters. Make sure to put a space between each ticker symbol. Note, if you enter in a ticker symbol that does not exist, Platinum will automatically remove it from the list. For our purposes, enter in the following ticker symbols: HAL, AMD, YHOO, CME, CAT, and PD. Click the Save button to save the list. After the page reloads, you will notice that the company names have been added to Under Company Names. After the page reloads, you will notice that the company names have been added to Under Company Names. Begin by clearing the list you have just created. To do this, click the green Clear button just below the Save button you just used. Platinum will prompt you to make sure that you really want to clear the list. Click OK and you'll see an empty list. Click on the drop-down window in the bottom left corner under Market Indices. You have a choice of indices that Platinum keeps up to date. Select a list to copy. We are going to use the S&P 100 optionable list. Click the green Add button just to the right. Platinum will take a moment to refresh the page. You will see all S&P 100 optionable stocks in your list. The green Replace button to the right of the Add button you just selected will do just that. Remove any symbols that were on the list you selected and save the new list of stocks in its place. Using the Clear button would have achieved the same results. Note, you can cut and paste a listing of symbols into Platinum as well. Place the cursor at the start of the desired symbols. The list can be from any source of symbols separated by spaces. Click and hold your cursor, and then drag the cursor over the desired stock symbols. Right-click the top of the highlighted text. Select Copy. This action copies the highlighted text to your computer's paste buffer. Left-click the symbols text area. Right-click Paste. The paste buffer text is pasted in the symbols list. Symbol. You can change the symbol you are looking at in this text box. If you change the symbol, you will have to click the green Update button for the page to refresh. To the right of the text box, Platinum will list the company's name. Below, Platinum will tell you what sector you will find that stock in. 2. End date. This refers to the date being used on this page. If you wanted to be in backtest mode, as we are in this example, either manually enter in the desired date into the text boxes and then click the Update button, or use the pop-up calendar. 3. Stock shares. If you are creating a synthetic position, referred to as an options position combined with stock, you can enter the number of underlying shares you want to have taken into consideration in the risk graph. 4. Stock dividend rate, percentage. You have the ability to change the dividend payout percentage if you so choose. Platinum will